I didn't think that I would get emotional, but I guess just the thought of everyone out there on the internet, hearing me talk about this. But this is good. This is good. My name is Kelly Jo. I'm a dramatic writing major, and I mostly write screenplays and poetry. I'd say I have a pretty big family compared to, some people who, but like family is definitely extended to closest friends and people that aren't necessarily related to you, but they're close enough to be considered family. They're a constant part of your life, just like family is, unlike friends that transition in and out. I care about things that are seemingly unimportant to others. I care about people, whether they're my closest friends, friends that I don't really talk to as much, but I still consider them a friend. I care about strangers. I care about, I care about a lot. I care about my job. I care about doing the right thing. I tend to care about people to a fault. Oftentimes, I turn a blind eye when situations aren't good, I guess. This is one of those situations. I care about what other people think about me. I have cared about that for most of my life. And it sucks that I care about that, but I can't really change the fact that I do. Doesn't mean that what I think others are thinking about me consumes everything that I am. It's just something that I tend to think about, but I don't let it define who I am. I think that caring about what others think about you can sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it can lead to better decision making. I'm making this YouTube video as a sort of cathartic way to get through all of this stuff that I just feel like screaming at the world right now. Recently, my relationship ended. We dated for 7 months. We fell in love, and then he broke my heart. But now I'm okay because I realized that the relationship wasn't really everything that I thought or hoped that it was or could be. I wanted it to be good, like it was when it started, but it just wasn't, and it's unfortunate, but better to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all. I kept hoping that it would get better and that it would be different, but you can't hope for that. Sometimes things just don't change, at least not the way you want them to. Can rain fall back up into the sky? No, I don't believe that love goes away. I believe that you can choose not to be with a person that you love if the situation isn't a good situation. But that doesn't mean that you don't love that person. If you truly love someone, I don't believe that that ever goes away. Love is indescribable and undefinable, and in many ways it is vague, but also a lot of the time it just seems to make perfect sense. Love makes you care about someone or something so much that when that thing or person is taken away, then it is painful, and also when you can't help that person, it physically hurts you. Well, have you ever thought that you would feel so much better if you would only just throw up? Just, I don't know, purge all of the negative emotions that you're feeling from your system. The dictionary definition of heartbreak is great sorrow, grief, or anguish. Heartbreak happens when something is really, really important to you, but it seems to you like other people don't care about it at all, or just that they don't care about it as much as you do. It's not only that it's not important to them, it's that they basically outright tell you that what you care about doesn't exist. Of course it hurts. At the end of a relationship, it can be difficult to not feel any sort of hope, and it feels impossible to be happy, and that love will never come your way again. I loved him, and I still love him, even though I wish I didn't. Because that would kind of make it a little bit easier to, not have it hurt. It feels like someone has stomped on everything that makes you who you are. If what makes me who I am was a sandcastle, heartbreak is the bully that comes and kicks it over. It's the end result of long-term false hope. I regret not caring enough about him to end the relationship when it before it got to the point that it had. I was blind to the parts of it that I didn't want to recognize, and that wasn't fair to either of us. I had a really hard time trusting him. I didn't want to hurt him the way that he had been hurt before. The most selfish thing that I did in this relationship was keeping it running on fumes, as the phrase goes. In the end, it's probably for the best. From this relationship, I learned that it is not bad to care about something, but at the same time, you can't will something into existence. A lot of the time, when something is so profound that it can't be put into words, it just comes into your mind in vague moments of partial clarity. It's just not always possible to define it with the English language. Just because you want something to be one way doesn't mean that it will be. If it isn't good, as scary as it is best to get out of the relationship. I didn't want to see those signs. I wanted it to be good. I was manipulative and selfish, which are things that I strive not to be. Sorry. It's not good to hurt all the time. It's not healthy to experience only one emotion all of the time. It's not healthy at all. I think it's really easy to want to be blind to the negative parts. And I think that that's easy to do when we fall in love for the first time. It is super important to pay attention to your own feelings. And if you don't feel good about the relationship, then it probably isn't good for you. Caring about someone else or loving someone else does not mean that you stop caring about or loving yourself. And that is extremely important to remember and to recognize when you stop caring about yourself. Ignorance is bliss. Choosing to be ignorant is different than just not knowing something. There's no relationship that can be better by turning a blind eye to the bad parts, because those are part of a relationship. You have the peaks and the valleys, and you can't ignore either one. Everyone gets their heart broken at one point or another in their lifetime. Everyone has to go through it. And when you fall in love, at least for the first time, you believe that there's the possibility that you're the exception to the rule, that everyone gets their heart broken. And because you so desperately want to hold on to and lean on the person and the idea of love and the fact that you do love them, that you are blind to the fact that it isn't as good of a situation as you hope for. You're not the exception. No one can be the exception. Rules are rules for a reason, especially if it's a rule like this, which is a rule of the universe. Everyone has to get their heart broken. And the two most important things to remember, I think, are one, it's okay to have bad days. It is okay to not be okay. And don't think that you have to be perfectly emotionally sound after a breakup, because you don't, and that's impossible to be. And you'll just end up feeling worse in the end if you try to be okay all the time. And two, like I've said twice already, it seems important at the time, but it probably isn't as important as you think it is. Trust me on that. It's not important in the grand scheme of things, as important as it seems at the time that it happens. It's truly not as important as you want it to be or make it out to be. It's just not. I've never been in love with someone before this relationship. When things happen to you, they seem important at the time, but as time progresses and with perspective, it won't make it stop hurting, but it can help you to realize and remember that it will get better and it will eventually stop hurting. It doesn't make it hurt any less or stop hurting faster, but it's just good to remember that it will stop hurting. I truly believe that it will. Through time, perhaps it could be less important than it seems right now. I'm gonna keep hope that something new, possibly better, will come along. And in the future, I'm going to try to stay open-minded, but also keep my eyes open. I'm going to focus on friendships and things that make me happy. While getting your heart broken is indeed a part of life, it's not as important to dwell on that as it is your support system, because your support system, it supports you. It's like the frame or the foundation of a building, or it's both. Your family, not in all cases, but in some, or the people who are like your family They're the foundation for you. And then you have the people in your life that are there every day. They're not necessarily your friends or your family, or they're not necessarily your closest friends anyway, but they're still there to help you.